Hello guys. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just going to wait for people to join the stream. So once you can hear me and you can see me, please let me know. I'm trying to look for the picture of what I'm going to be doing tonight. That's what I'm trying to look for. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you. Those of you that are entering with hearts, thank you so 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 much. So please let me know if you can hear me and you can see me. I would appreciate that. So we can just go straight into our tutorial for today. Uzo Aku, thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much for the compliment. Hi, Patrino Fashions. You're welcome. Thank you so much. My hair. Thank you so much for the hair. This hair. I'm just laughing. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So can you hear me? Please let me know if the sound is okay so we can just continue straight into our tutorial for today. Okay, so I need to adjust my camera. Okay, thank you so much for confirming. Uzo, thank you so much. Okay, Patrino, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so now let me readjust my camera. Okay, yes, I'm trying to make sure that I have a full. Let me see. I think I'll bring it down more and then just adjust this way so we can see. Okay, so once we can get our table, we can get our frame like this. I think we're good to go. We're just going to work and adjust. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Kelechi, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, so now let's get started. So let me show you guys. This is what we are going to be cutting tonight. So you can see this is like a bustier that has like a corset base. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. It's a simple process, and then these are trending styles now. So even as a beginner, you'll be able to achieve this. Is simple. So this is what we're going to learn today to cut. So we're just going to be doing the pattern drafting. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I have my pattern paper. So what we're going to do, we're going to draft the front and then the back. Okay, so I think let's start with drafting of the back. I think it will be much faster for us that way. So for the back, basically what we are going to be doing, we're just going to be drafting a basic bodice for the back. So I'm just trying to cut. Okay. So I just want to use one piece for the front, for the back piece. Okay. Okay, Ella, you're welcome. Good evening. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to draw a line. So this line is going to be my start line. So let me know, guys, where you're watching me from. You people know I always like to hear where you are watching me from. I really love that. So please let me know. So this is the first line. So we're drafting a basic body. So this basic body is for the back. Okay, so the next line I'm going to add here for my basic bodies is my bust line, which is 10 inches. And then I'm going to add my waistline. I'll add my bust line, my under bust line, 13, and then I'm going to add my half cut, which is my waistline, 18 inches. So what I'm going to do now, all of these lines, I'm just going to mark them straight on my pattern paper like this. So like I said, please let me know where you're watching me from. For those of you that are just coming, you're welcome. You are welcome. I don't know why, what happened. There's like something is under, which is breaking it. So the next thing we're going to do, okay, Patrino, you're watching from Lagos. Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, Ella, you're watching from Lagos also. That's good. Nice. So the next thing we're going to do now, let's add our measurement. So as I go along, I'm going to be calling the measurement. Wow, Kelechi, you're watching from Abuja. Good. So the next thing now, well, I'm going to be using a shoulder measurement of 14 inches. So for the shoulder measurement, this first lines here. So let's introduce the lines for those of you that are beginners. This is our shoulder line. This is our bust point, our under bust, and then our waist. So this waist can serve as our half cut. So the lines, the measurement, this, let me show you these lines. This is the shoulder line, and then this line is the bust line. This is the bust line, and then this one now is the under bust line, which is here, and then this fourth line is the half cut. That's where our body is the half cut is going to reach. That's the back. Okay. So now the next thing we want to do now, we want to add our shoulder measurement, which is 14. So you divide 14 into 2 for the shoulder, and then we're going to add 7. So I'll add just 1 inch to it for allowance. And then from that 1 inch, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. That's from the extra 1 inch. And then I'm going to just like float this into my shoulder line like this. Okay, so you can see. And then the next thing I want to measure is my armhole, my round armhole. So for round armhole, you can actually measure round and then get your armhole. You understand? So for this, my round armhole that I'm going to be making use of is 15 inches. So when I divide 15 into 2, I'm going to have 7.5. So I'll take that 7.5, I'll mark it here like this. So once I mark it like that, I am going to, okay, so I'm going to connect this line like this, okay, and then I'll just like square it out like this. So the next thing I want to do now, I want to add my bust measurement. It's a simple process. My bust measurement is 36. So when I divide 36 into 4, I'm going to have 9 inches. So I'll take it like this and then I'll add my 9 inches. This is my backboard, it's like I told you. And then I'll add about 2 inches for my stitching allowance. I can add 2 or 3 inches, that's fine. So once I add it like that, I've marked it here. The next thing now, I'm going to look for half of this. This is my back piece. It's really not for back piece, since we're not coming in, it's still okay. It's still okay. So you can just check like this and then just get the midpoint. So that midpoint is just to like help it to square out. But since this is not a front pattern, so you really don't. So I'm just going to mark this like this, okay? So you can see. And then from this point, this is my bust measurement, okay? So from this bust point, I'll just use dotted lines like this to connect it. So I can just do this. And then the next measurement I'm going to add now is my under bust measurement. So for my under bust, so my bust is 36. For my under bust measurement, my under bust, I'm going to be using 30 inches. So that 30 inches, that's 7.5. When you divide into 4, you have 7.5. So I'm going to add 1 inch for my dart like this. So this is for my dart, and then I'll add my 2 inches for allowance. Okay. So from that point, I'm going to connect these lines. So I want to join it together. So like I said, thank you so much. Okay, I'm teaching from Abuja. That's where I'm teaching from. Okay. Alicia, you're welcome. You're watching from Washington. Okay, sorry, you're watching from Florida. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to add now is my waist measurement. So my waist measurement is 34. My under bust measurement was 7.5, was 30. Okay, and then my waist is 34. Oh, sorry, 32. My waist is 32. So When I divide 32 into 4, I'm going to have 8. So this is 8 inches. And then I'm going to add 1 inch for my allowance. And then I'm going to add 2 inches. Sorry, 1 inch for that, please. Then 2 inches for my stitching allowance. So that person that is asking, I am shooting from Abuja. So the next one, I don't want it sharp, so just use my pattern curve like this to give it a beautiful curve. So you can see, can you see? So the next thing we are going to do now, since it is a bust here, so we are going to take out the yoke. So for us to take out the yoke for the back piece, so before then, let's take our dart. Let's mark our dart. So for the dart, I'll use half of my bust pan measurement. So I'll mark it here. I'm using 4.5, 4.5, and then 4.5. So I'll connect this straight. I'll connect this straight. Since I'm using the dart I'm using is 1 inch. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll just take half inch on both sides like this. And then from this point, I would connect this like this. So you can see, so this is our dart. So the next thing now, we're going to take out a yoke, okay? Lily, you're welcome. Good, you're watching from Ghana. Wow, thank you. So for the that you can for the back, for the yoke for the back, to cut out the yoke, to turn it into that bust, to that tube. What you are going to do depends on how deep. So for the front piece, when we're making the front, we're going to use about 7 or 8 for the front piece. You understand? But for the back, most times back are usually deeper. So for the back, this is our bust point. So for the back, we're going to do about 9 inches. So this is 9 inches. Okay. So the back is just going to be straight. You don't need to add anything. So you can see what I'm doing. You can see the way I'm sloping it. You understand? So this is going to be for the back. So I'm just going to cut that off, and then we are done with our back piece. It's a simple process. So now I'm going to cut this now. So please, if you have questions, you can ask your question. So this is our back piece. So the back piece is floating straight, is below. So you can see the back piece is below. So in case you want to add a yoke now, you can now use this as your yoke. But if you don't want to use a yoke like what we have on the picture, this is going to be for our back piece. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do now, let's draft the front, which is like the main event for today. Okay, so now let's add all of our lines back into our piece, just the way we added them before. So the first line I'm going to add here. So if you will notice, you notice the way I'm drafting this, I'm drafting it in a way that it will be easy, very easy for you guys. So that is why you see I'm making it, that is, I'm drafting it with like a yoke on it. Okay, and then before we now proceed to turn it into a tube style line. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now, okay, Ella, no, that what I did for the that, let me show you. If you notice, you see the way it is. So this is the bust line now. So when I'm cutting, you have the various ways of cutting that. Do you understand? There are some you can decide to start it from here, from the bust line. Why some you can decide to come down a little bit. You understand? So it totally depends on you. You can come down by like 2 inches. Do you understand? You can come down by 2 inches, and then from here you mark. So it depends on what you are trying to achieve. Because this one, if you notice, this one is a corset. So we're trying to like this will help me to like snatch that part. You understand? So that is why I'm starting it from here. If not, normally, thank you for the observation. Normally, I should come down by 1 inch. If I'm making a normal bodice, I should come down by 1 inch, and then before I curve my dart. But since I'm still trying, I'm really trying to like snatch as much as I can. So that is why I'm starting it from this point. So at the end of the day, when I at the end of the day, when I close my dart, so you can see. So this will help reduce it so much. Okay, so thanks for the observation. So when you are doing a basic bodice for a corset, you can do that. But if it is the normal bustier, just come down by 1 inch. Okay, yes, that's good. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to add our line. So that's the first line, which is our shoulder line. And then the next line I am adding is my bust point line, which is 10 inches. And then my under bust, which is 13 inches. And then my waist is 18 inches. So for this waist part, for this front part, if I am drafting a normal bodice, that's like a normal bust here, and I want to add side dart, that's I want to add side dart to it, I am not going to mark it to be 18, I'm going to mark it to be 20 inches. Why? Because when I take out my side dart, it's going to truncate my piece. Okay, so but for this I'm not adding side dart, so it's the bust here. So I'm going to use like a princess dart pattern for this. Okay, so that is why, Ella, thank you so much for that observation. That's really nice. Shows you are following. Good student. All right, so now let's continue. So we have added all our lines back. So this is our shoulder line, our bust point, our under bust, and then our waist. So I hope you people understand everything that I explained. So if I want to add the side dart, I will extend by 2 inches. So by the time we hold our side dart, it will like balance it up with the back piece. Okay. So the next thing now, we're going to draft our bust here before we adapt it into that tube like. So the next thing now, the same thing, we're going through the process. Our shoulder measurement is 14, you divide into 2, you have 7. But before then, yes, you have 7, and then you add 1 inch for your allowance, and then from that 1 inch I'll come down by 1 inch. So that 1 inch that I'm coming down by, I would mark this. So if you are using a tool, even if you are using a tool sef, this one is not necessary. You understand? You know your yoke now because of the adjustment and the pulling, so it's really not necessary. So you can even just leave that out. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do now, we're taking our armhole, which is 7.5, like I explained, 15 inches. So I'll mark that divided into 2. So that's how we got the 7.5 that I came down with. So from this point now, for this, I'm going to use this as my chest line. So I'll just mark it straight, you understand? So I want to use it as my chest line. So that is why I marked it straight into that point. So the next thing now, that 7.5, I want to take out the mid of it. Okay. So this point, so I'll come in with about like quarter of an inch. So when I come in by that quarter of an inch, before then I'll add my bust measurement. So my bust, like I said, is okay. Before then, no, let's just leave it. Let's leave that. Let's, because I just realized that I'm still going to extend it. So let's leave that. Let's take out our dart. So for the dart, so like I said, we're using like a princess dart pattern. That's what we're going to use. So for our dart, we're using 4.5 inches, which is that's bust span from one nipple to another, which is 8. And then I added half of an inch to it. So it's going to be 9. So when you divide that into 2, you are going to have 4.5. So that is why we have this 4.5. Why is this thing looking like this? Okay, so the next thing now, that 4.5, I'm going to mark it across all of my lines like this. 4.5. I did not mark it to my chest line now. So I'll just mark this like this. Okay, so after marking this like this, the next thing we are going to do now, let's take out our dart for the front piece. So for the dart, I'm going to use, so for the dart, I'm going to explain something. If you are using a bust of of like 36 inches downwards, you can use 2 inches for your that. But if it's a bust of like 38 upward, you can use like 2.5 inches for your that. You understand? So because you know the as the bust is getting bigger, so you need to curve it properly, okay? So for this, since I'm using 36, I'm just going to go with 2 inches. I'll mark that 2 inches here at that point. So from that point now, see what I'm going to do. I'm just trying to create a curve. I could just go ahead and use my pattern curve to do this, but I'm just doing this for the sake of those people that will not have pattern curve, okay? So from this point now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to come. So please ignore this chest line, ignore it. So from this point now, I'm going to come up by 1 inch. So the essence of coming up by 1 inch is just to help me to like curve this. Do you understand? To like get it. No, I need to change my pattern curve. Let me use this one. This one will give me better results. Okay. So I'm trying to just give it a beautiful curve because I don't want it to be pointy. So that's why I'm doing this. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to check. So this is that half we measured. Okay. So that half that we measured, this is what I'm going to do. So this is going to be like, do you understand? To help me to curve, to make a good curve. So that is why. So from this point now, I'm just trying as much as I can to. So if you don't have pattern curve, please you don't need to disturb yourself. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm not going to cut from this point. So I need to extend this. So since this yoke, I'm not going to be using it after all. So I'm going to just extend it by 1 inch. So that 1 inch now that I extended, I want to mark out an arm, a curve. Do you understand? I want to create like a curve. So this now, I'm going to extend this now. I just extend this. So this one, why the reason for this is so it does not get truncated. Okay, so that's the reason for this extension. So now you can see our bust here. So we've curved it. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I want to take my full bust measurement. So my bust is 36. When I divide 36 into 4, I'm going to have 9 inches. So this is my 9 inches. And then I'm going to add for this, I'll add as much as 2.5 or 3 inches for my allowance. So I'll just mark it at that point. The next thing, I'll come to my under bust line. So you remember we're using 30 inches, which is 7.5 here. And then that 7.5, I'm going to add allowance of about half of an inch because when I cut, I'll lose some inches. Okay. So after that, this is now going to be like my half of an inch. And then from this point, I'm going to add the same 2.5 inches on that point. So what I'll do, I'll connect the line like this. Okay. So the next thing I will do, so for this, let me just tell you guys, in case you don't want to use this pattern of bustier, you can actually use any bustier pattern of your choice for this dress. Okay, for that picture that I showed you guys, you can use any bustier pattern, is okay. So the next thing, we're going to come to our waist. So our waist, we're using 32, which is 8 inches. You divide that into 4, we have 8 inches. Before I mark my 8 inches, my dart, I need to extend my dart. Okay, so my dart, I'm using the same 2 inches. I'm bringing it down. So I'll just curve it like this into this point. So remember, so for our under bust, sorry, for our waist is 32. You divide 32 into 4, we have 8 inches. And then these 2 inches, we're going to cut that part off. So you bring back that 2 inches into your pattern so it does not get you don't forget it, that's just it. And then after that, I'm going to mark my 2.5 inches allowance that I'm using. I'll mark it here. And then for my under bust lines, I realized that I did not measure the under bust. So this is our 7.5 here. And then remember these 2 inches, you bring back that 2 inches into your pattern like this, and then you add your stitching allowance also. So the next thing now, we are going to like curve all of these lines together. So you can see now my pattern, I'll connect it to that point, and then from this point I'll connect this one to this. So if you have questions, please, this is a live class, just ask your questions now as we are here. Okay, so let's see. Yes, I can see a question. Okay, okay, see, I'm sorry. No problem, it's okay. You said people with bigger bust, we should use 2.5. Yes, you can use 2.5 inches for your dart. It will help it a lot. And people that are even very small, you can just use 1 inch for your dart. Okay, but 36 inches downward, use 2 inches. Then 38 upward, use 2.5 inches. Okay, yes. So I'm just taking a good look at my pattern before we draw out our style line. So the next thing we're going to do, remember this is our chest line. So let me label them so people will understand. This is our chest line. This is our bust line, our under bust, okay? So now if you notice that style line for this bust here, before we continue, because we're going to do everything here, so you guys can see. You see the way the chest, it is a little bit higher. Can you see? It is a little bit higher than the chest line, okay? If you notice, it is a little bit higher. So now for this, you can decide to come up by 1 inch. You understand? Before you cut out, you can come up by 1 inch like this. So when you come up by 1 inch, so you can see the way the curve is. So now what we're trying to make is like an arc like this. Understand? Like an arc. That's what we're trying to do. So even me that is doing this, I need to be very careful. You understand? So I don't spoil the shape. So what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to mark my line. So for this, it's going to come, the arc is like basically going to come like this, and then it will blend into the armhole area. Okay, so remember our armhole, we actually use about 7.5 inches for our armhole. Yes, we use about 7.5 inches. So now we came up a little bit. So now for us to create that arc now, so I came up by 1 inch. So in case you want to go up by 2 inches, you can. So that one, it totally depends on you. And then from this point now, I am going to mark this like this. So I noticed it that even coming up by 1 inch will not give me a really good defined curve. So I'm just going to add about quarter of an inch to that point, okay? So it will give me a very defined curve. So you can see. So I'm trying to place my pattern curve and then bring it into my armhole point. Can you guys see? Can you see the way I'm blending it? You see what I did? You see from that point now, just to get that defined curve, okay, for my front piece. So I've marked that. And then there's something, because it is an under bust, we're going to be cutting from this point. So in order for us to cut from this point now, we need to elongate it. If you notice, it has a basque, it actually has like a basque waist, okay? So all of this we have not included them yet, you can see. So now we want to extend our waist since we need to add a basque. Okay, so to add that basque waistline, I'm going to add as much as 6 inches, between 5 and 6. So I'll just use mark 6 inches here. That line, I'll mark 6 inches here, and then I'm going to connect it straight and then add all of my lines back. So you guys should just watch what I'm doing. Okay, so this is like 6 inches, and then I would extend all of my lines. So note, because when we cut So I'll just extend all of my lines. When we cut, we are going to have some issues. You understand? Because now you are going to measure. You understand? Because this bust now, this under bust now, when you are cutting, we're not going to cut it here. You understand? We're going to extend it a little bit by 1 inch, because if you notice, you see that it has cuts. Okay, so let's see the question. Okay, sorry, ma. How many inches do you go up? Okay, at the end of the day, how many inches did I go up? I now went up, like from the chest line. Initially, I did 1 inch. So basically, I came up by like 1.5 inches from the chest line to get that curve. So it's about 1.5 inches. This was 1 inch. Then I added like, I thought it was quarter of an inch, but now that I'm measuring it now, it's like half of an inch. So 1 inch is okay. So another thing, when you draft it on your pattern paper, you can always adjust it on your fabric. So when you see it, you know. So that is why it's good to use patterns when making these trendy styles. Okay. Now, so the next thing we're going to do now. So I'm just trying to check everything. So for this part now, when we're cutting, we're going to come cut this our under bust. We're going to cut it at this point, but before then, let's add all of this our dart lines. Okay, so for this dart line, so we have the first one here, and then we're going to have another one. So for the ones on the side, you can just add them however you want to add them. So from this point now, you can just decide to, like, okay, I have about 4.5 here. I'll just divide that into two, and then just add this for this dart here. So I can decide to just mark it like this. So it depends. So for this one, it depends on what you want. Okay, so for this dart, it depends on what you want and how you actually want it. So you can add them however you want. And then this middle part, this middle one also, we are going to divide the middle part also for our dart. So I have about 4.5 inches here. So I'll just measure like 2.5, and then I'm going to mark this. Okay, so for this, you can style it however you want to style. You understand? So you can just mark it like that, however you want to mark it. This, if you want to bring it this way, you can bring it that way. So now note, so for the under bust, so like I said, the under bust, we're not going to cut. When we're cutting, we will not cut from here. We're going to extend this by 1 inch. I always like using 1 inch. Quarter of an inch might be too small, so I'll just mark here like this. So that's where we're going to cut. And then for our basque waistline, if you notice, it's not a very deep basque. So what we're going to do now, from this point now, I'm going to like create a curve. So I'm going to create like a curve here, like this now. So just watch. So just create a curve for your basque waistline. Okay. So we are basically done. So before we cut, do we have any question? Okay, Ella, which part? So let me know before I cut. Let me know. Just tell me the part where you are lost. Don't be lost. I'm here. Let me know, please. All of these lines that I added are just lines that I'm going to cut them out just to create all the lines that we have here. Let me show you. So please let me know. You see all these lines here that we have, all these boning chambers. So that is basically what I just did on my pattern from the beginning. So let me know, please. I'm waiting for you before I cut. Okay, let's see. Okay, the two lines in between the dots. Yes, the two lines in between the dots, they are just random lines. You understand? They are just random lines. So you can create them however you want. So those lines are for boning. You understand? So they are for their boning chambers that I added. They are just for boning chambers. So you can actually put them however. Do you understand? You can see my own. This one is straight. This one is slanted. I can decide to just like from here now, just curve these ones. Do you understand? So this one now, this one is the one we're cutting out. This one will not be part of the dress. This is the original dart lines, but all of these ones are lines for boning. So when we are done, we cut them out. You know where to put your boning. So for this, like I said, they are just random lines. Put them the way you want to put them. You understand? You can see my eye slanted it. If I wanted it straight, I can make it straight. Okay. All right, so thank you so much. Okay, the line under the bust, how will you curve it? Which of the one under the bust? That one, you don't need to curve it. You don't need to curve it. It's already there. Once you cut from here, you don't need to curve it. You understand? Naturally, bust has it will curve on its own. You understand? Once you stitch, it will stay on its own. This is like the best, as in this pattern is like the best bustier under bust corset pattern. Is simple, is easy, and once you sew it, you can never go wrong with it. I love, as in not like I love the pattern. So it does not, oh, the line, as in this curve here, you're referring to this curve here. If that curve, that one, you don't need to curve it. You are going to leave it straight because you are cutting. You understand? You are making like and half cut. So you don't necessarily need to bend it. Once you stitch it, it will stay because of the bust. Naturally, you can see naturally it will like curve. So I hope I've been able to answer your questions. So we can go ahead and cut. So if you have questions, just drop your question. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Josephine, you're welcome. So now we can go ahead and cut now. Ella, I hope you understood everything. So you people should see the way I'm cutting. Just watch and see how I am cutting this. So everything that I'm cutting, I am cutting it just like a little bit above. Okay, I'm cutting it like a little bit above. So that's that. And then for this now, so if you notice, I always add allowance even in my cuttings. And then this one now, this is our under bust. You cut it. Don't cut it on the exact line like I explained to you. If you cut it on the exact line. So now when you are transferring to your fabric, I'm going to explain this. When you are transferring to your fabric, you will extend this. Another option with this line, this 1 inch line that I came down with, you can cut under your bust. And then when you are extending to your fabric, when you're transferring to your fabric, you can still add that allowance. Please note, okay? So now we are going to cut this now. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I almost forgot. We have not done an over bust tightening on this. Okay. It is very, as in not very, 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 very important. As I was about to cut this part, I now saw it, I remember. So for that chest part, you need to tighten it. Okay, so it depends on how many inches you want to take out from it. You can take out 2 inches, but you can take out half of an inch. So some you can take 0.56. You understand? So most times I always like taking out 1 inch. If you have been following me, you will notice I usually take out 1 inch. So it helps a lot. It will help me to tighten that chest part. So once I want to do that, this is what I will do. I'll come to this point like this. I'll mark half of an inch to this point and then mark half of an inch to this other side. Okay, so when I mark this half of an inch like this, now see what I'm going to do. This is to enable me tighten this chest part, so you can see. So I've marked that one, and then this now you can see this one. This will come into this pattern like this. You understand? So now at the end of the day now, I've taken out like 1 inch from that chest part. So that will really help. You know, it is like an off shoulder. That will really help to tighten that part. Okay, so that's for that. And then for the down part, that's this tummy area. Now, for this tummy area, when we want to tighten the tummy area, this is our original dart. You understand? This is our original dart legs. So for this now, when we want to take out, depends on how many inches you want to snatch your waist. But like me, I normally advise people, you don't necessarily need to snatch yourself on that you cannot breathe. It's not necessary. You understand? So you can just decide to take just 1 inch away from your actual measurement, and then with that, you wear that corset, you'll be able to sit properly. Okay. So if we are going to be taking out 1 inch from that part, what we are going to do now, that 1 inch, I'm just going to bring half of an inch to this side and then bring half of an inch to this side also. So once I bring this half of an inch to this side and this side like this, so just watch what I'm going to do now. So that half of an inch, I'm going to mark it on this side. So I'm just trying to like, so can you see now? So now this is now going to be the extra that is coming out from here. And then this other one also half of an inch on this side. And then I'll just blend it into this part. So at the end of the day now, my dart, now what I now took out from my dart. So like for those of you that are beginners, this what we're actually doing today is a little bit of advanced teaching. You understand? So at the end of the day now, my dart now that I now took out from this down part is about is about 3 inches. You understand? It's about 3 inches instead of 2.5 inches. So I hope you understand it. If you don't understand, please let me know. Then for this top part, I took out 1 inch from this chest area. Okay. So this will help to tighten, it will help to tighten that chest part. At times, if I'm even sewing for my some of my clients, I take as much as even up to like 1.5 inches out from that part piece just to make sure that that chest part is tight properly. Okay, so now you can see. So can you see? So this will help to tighten that part properly. So you see why I was telling you guys to extend this cut. So when you extend it by 1 inch, you will have enough room to play with around here. So at the end of the day, when you sew, even if it is too long, you will, okay. About you, you're welcome. So you have enough room around here. Okay. So now the next thing, now we're going to cut all of these pieces. So all of these pieces now, I'm just going to cut here now. So this is my actual piece. So the best thing is it's always good for us to label them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Label them so you don't mix them all up. Label them, even the back ones also. 1, 2. This is number 3. Then this is number 4. Or else you are going to mix and scatter everything all up. So note, when you are transferring to your fabric, all of this you add allowance. So it actually depends on the boning type that you are doing. You are going to need to add allowance that you will use to stitch. Okay. So this is the dart. This is the only one that is going out. So now we have 1, and then we have 2, we have 3, and then we have 4. Can you see? It's not standing because of the ones under. So let me just take them out so that they balance up properly. So this is for the center piece. So when you're transferring to your fabric now, just add allowance down and then add allowance to the side, because you are going to join them. Because if you do not add allowance to the side, if you stitch them, your fabric is going to get truncated. So you can see. So I'm going to open this up. You can see. So this is for the center piece. So like I said, this pattern, you can use any bustier pattern of your choice to actually do this. Okay, you can actually use any bustier pattern of your choice. So if I'm going to spread them, I'll just shift them like this, and then this is my number two. It's going to stay here. My number three, and then my number four. So this is going to be for my down piece, and then this one is going to be for my center front. So remember, my center front, I'm still going to open it at the center of the front. So all of this, they are because of the boning chambers. That is why I'm still going to open them up. So at the end of the day, this is what we are going to have. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Even me, the thing shocked me. It shocked me also. So can you hear me? Please let me know. Okay, let's see. Can you guys hear me now? I think you should be able to hear me. Let me know, please. Okay, thank you. Even me, when I saw the head of the microphone, I was wondering. It's like that one, the thing ran down, so I need to recharge. Okay, so yes, okay, Ella, you were saying, let's see, let me see your question. Okay, yes, you were saying is if it's possible for us to sew, right? To sew it, to stitch it. Okay, I think let's try. The biggest issue and reason for today's self is that the okay, I would try. If it's something, it's a simple process. It's something that we can do. You understand? So I can actually we can actually do that to join them. Even if we did not finish it, we just cut all of them. I'll show you guys how to cut them, and then we just join them. Okay? So I'll do that. Just pray because I'm having electricity issue now. So if it gets resolved, so what I'm using now is my solar, and you people know that it's raining season, so the sun is not really shining much for me. So I'm just trying to reserve my energy. So I can't power. The only time I can sew is in the afternoon when there is serious when there is sun. Okay, so if tomorrow is gets resolved, we'll do that. But if not, we'll do another draft again. So thank you so much. for watching. Yes. Okay. 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 Thank you so much. Helen, you're welcome. Okay. Thank you. Angel, thank you. Ella. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So we are good to go. So let me keep all these pieces since we are going to be stitching, since we are going to be transferring them to our fabric. Let me keep them all. Let me not throw them away. All right. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you guys in our next class. So, like I said, tomorrow, if I'm able to, I'll come up. Okay. So let me keep all of the patterns so we can transfer them into our fabric in another class. But you see the notification. Just keep stay tuned. All right. So see you guys. Thank you so much. Abati. Abati.